a major legal limitation to freedom of speech in Malaysia. Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act, 1998, CMA 1998. Article 10(1)(a) of the Federal Constitution grants citizens the right to express opinions. However, Article 10(2)(a) allows Parliament to restrict this right for national security, public order, and morality. Section 233. CMA controls misuse of digital platforms, will explain the law, examine its foundation, and analyze 3 real cases to assess if its enforcement upholds justice or crosses into censorship.
Next, what is Section 233 CMA 1998? Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998 is a legal provision designed to regulate behavior in the digital space. Specifically, Section 233(1)(a) makes it an offense for anyone to make, create, or initiate the transmission of any comment, request, suggestion, or communication that is considered obscene, indecent, false, menacing, or offensive in character through any network service, including the Internet. This means that if you post something on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or even send a message via WhatsApp that is deemed offensive or false, you could potentially be charged under this law. The punishment for this offense is quite serious. A person convicted under Section 233 can face a fine of up to 50,000 Malaysian ringgits, or a jail term of up to 1 year, or both, if the offense continues. There's also a further fine of 1,000 Malaysian ringgits for every day it persists. The intention behind this law is to protect the public from harmful online behavior. It aims to prevent cyberbullying, racial or religious provocation, harassment, online threats, and the spread of fake news. The enforcement agency responsible is the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, or MCMC, which monitors and investigates online content and complaints. However, many legal scholars, NGOs, and even ordinary citizens have raised concerns about how this law is applied. The wording of the law includes vague and subjective terms like offensive and annoy, which are open to wide interpretation. What one person finds offensive, another may see as legitimate criticism or satire. As a result, critics argue that Section 233 can be, and has been, used to silence political speech, satire, and even harmless personal opinions. The fear is that this legal tool, although well-intentioned, might be abused to limit democratic discussion or punish dissent. Now, to understand whether this law is truly justified, we need to look at the legal theory behind it. Does this law represent legitimate legal authority, or is it a form of control disguised as law? Let's move on to the third slide and examine the concept of rational legal authority. To understand the foundation behind Section 233, we must explore the concept of rational legal authority, as explained by Max Weber, a prominent sociologist. Weber described rational legal authority as a form of power that is derived from a system of rules and laws which are created and enforced through legitimate institutions. In other words, people obey the law not because of tradition or personal loyalty, but because they believe in the legitimacy of the legal system and the rule of law. Section 233, being part of an act passed by Parliament and enforced by institutions, like the MCMC and the judiciary, clearly falls under rational legal authority. Its existence is justified by the need to maintain order and regulate the growing influence of digital communication. However, Weber's theory also assumes that legal rules must be applied equally, predictably, and transparently. This is where the problem begins. In practice, there have been accusations that Section 233 is applied unevenly. Some individuals are investigated or arrested for making political criticisms, while others who spread hate speech may go unpunished. This suggests a potential imbalance between law and power, and brings into question whether the rule is being applied rationally and justly. We can also relate this to the harm principle by John Stuart Mill. Mill believed that individual freedom should only be limited to prevent harm to others. If a person's speech causes real damage, such as inciting violence or spreading dangerous lies, then it is justifiable to restrict it. But if someone simply voices an opinion or uses satire, and it causes no actual harm, then punishing them goes against democratic values. So the key question is, does Section 233 truly follow the principles of rational legal authority and the harm principle? Or does it sometimes overreach, punishing people for expressions that are part of legitimate free speech Let's now look at real examples to see how this law has been applied in Malaysia. One of the most well-known cases involving Section 233 is that of Fahmi Reza, a political graphic designer and activist. In 2020, political activist and graphic designer Fahmi Reza made headlines for posting a satirical caricature of a political leader as a clown. The image, uploaded to Twitter and Instagram, went viral and became a symbol of political commentary. However, this act of satire led to serious consequences. Fahmi was investigated and charged under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998 for allegedly sharing offensive content intended to annoy. The authorities claimed that his artwork was provocative and could disturb public order, but supporters saw it differently. They argued that satire is a legitimate form of expression in any democratic society. Fahmi's case sparked national and even international discussion. Was the law being used to protect the peace or to silence dissent? Many Malaysians believed this was a case of selective enforcement, where criticism of those in power becomes a crime. But actual hate speech goes unchecked. In the end, the issue wasn't just about a drawing, it was about how far the law can go in controlling digital expression. Should the government decide what's offensive, or should Malaysians be allowed to voice their opinions, even if they're bold, creative, or uncomfortable?
Johari Ismail, a retired Malaysian man, posted a statement online about the Conference of Rulers. His post was shared quickly across social media, but it contained false information and it didn't take long before authorities stepped. In .joha, I was arrested and charged under Section 233 CMA. The court sentenced him to 6 months in jail and a fine of 30,000 Malaysian ringgits. This case caught public attention because Johari wasn't a politician, activist, or journalist. He was just an ordinary citizen. Was his post meant to spread harm? Or was it simply careless? Did he understand the law, and was prison the right punishment? Many people saw this as a warning. In today's digital age, anyone can be prosecuted for what they post online. Johari's case reminded Malaysians that freedom of speech on the internet comes with heavy responsibility, but it also raised concerns about digital literacy, legal awareness, and fairness in punishment. In 2015, opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim uploaded a video online criticizing government corruption and injustices. As a prominent political figure, he was doing what any democratic leader should, speaking out on matters of public interest. But instead of sparking debate, the video led to legal trouble. Authorities charged him under Section 233 CMA, claiming his remarks were false and could incite unrest. This move drew criticism from many sides. Activists, legal experts, and human rights organizations said this was a misuse of law to silence a political opponent. In a functioning democracy, freedom of political speech is essential. Without it, leaders cannot be held accountable. The law's vague language terms like offensive and false allowed wide interpretation, and that made people wonder, was this about maintaining peace or punishing criticism? Anwar's case showed how Section 233 can be a double-edged sword. While it claims to protect society, it can also be used to protect those in power.
Now that we've seen how Section 233 CMA is applied in real cases, it's important to talk about the challenges and criticisms surrounding this law. While the original intention of Section 233 may have been to promote responsible communication, online, there are several practical and legal issues that make this law controversial. The first major challenge is its vagueness. The law uses words like offensive, annoying, and indecent, but what exactly do these terms mean? These are highly subjective concepts. What one person finds offensive, another may view as humorous, harmless, or even necessary criticism. Because there is no clear legal definition, authorities have broad discretion to interpret these words however they want. This creates a dangerous environment where even harmless posts can be criminalized. Secondly, the law is often criticized for selective enforcement. Many high-profile arrests under Section 233 involve individuals who criticize political leaders or government policies. Meanwhile, offensive or threatening comments made by others especially those aligned with government, sometimes go unpunished. This selective use of the law undermines public trust and raises concerns about political bias. Thirdly, there is a concern about freedom of expression being stifled. People may start to self-censor out of fear of being charged. Activists, artists, journalists, and even students may avoid sharing honest views or asking tough questions online simply because they don't want to be labeled as offensive or false. This creates what we call a chilling effect. Lastly, there's the problem of enforcement in a global internet space. While Miss CMC may have authority within Malaysia, the internet is borderless. Harmful or illegal content can easily be created or shared from outside the country, beyond the reach of Malaysian law. This shows that simply punishing users inside the country is not enough. We need education, digital literacy, and better content regulation strategies that involve cooperation with platforms like Facebook, 10, Twitter, TikTok, and others. In summary, while Section 233 CMA aims to protect society, it faces serious challenges in terms of clarity, fairness, and effectiveness. To conclude, our video explored Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998, a key legal limitation on freedom of speech in Malaysia. We discussed its purpose, how it functions online, and examined real cases involving Fahmi Reza, Anwar Ibrahim, and Johari Ismail. These cases show that while Section 233 helps prevent harmful content, it can also suppress dissent and silence criticism due to vague wording and selective enforcement. Malaysia needs laws to curb hate speech and misinformation, but they must be clearly defined, fairly applied, and balanced with the right to free expression. We recommend reforms such as clearer legal terms, stronger protections for journalists and whistleblowers, and impartial enforcement. Ultimately, a fair legal framework should protect both freedom and accountability, creating a society where people can speak freely without fear, while ensuring that harmful speech is rightly addressed.